Okay. Hello and welcome to the Nerdosphere. I'm one of your hosts, Clayton, joined as always by the biggest palate this side of the Mississippi, Corbin.
Hello.
We are also joined, as always, usually, by our good bestie friend, Tim Jarin himself.
I feel like
Tim.
you need to start introducing me first because I can never top Corbin's angelic voice.
Aw.
I feel like I'm always such a letdown after your beautiful voice and your pose at the end. That you almost like dabbed at the end today.
I don't view it that way. I view it as a relief.
Let's get this over with. Sounds like
The
my
people
wife.
do
Hey.
tend to come to listen to you, Tim, than us. So while I'm flattered, you feel that way about me. That might not be the general consensus amongst the peeps.
I think that says something about you guys. Just saying.
Well,
Well.
sometimes people have dumb opinions and they don't like to be told it's dumb.
That's true.
Again,
So,
you just alienated most of our listeners.
I was not assuming most of our listeners were dumb. That was you, Tim. So I guess
But-
now I'm the favorite.
I'm pretty sure you said most of our listeners like you, Tim. And then when I made my comment, you said, well, that's because a lot of people have bad opinions. So
I'm just here.
So
sipping
I have
my
been trying to
coffee.
find St. Louis City soccer merch.
oh, I like
Oh,
that.
This is the back. This is the back.
Beautiful. I love it.
It's gorgeous. It's an Adidas shirt, just like that dry fit, where it's like
Mhm.
not quite Under Armour, but it's like not cotton at all.
hmm
And it's nice, but I was on the hunt for a hat.
Dude,
I
the
went
hats
to
are
two-
impossible to find.
I went to 2 rally houses. I went to 2 lids. I went to 2 St. Louis sports shops in the mall. And what hats were available were dumb as shit.
hmm
Like there's a really hot pink looking hat. I'm like, I don't want to wear that. And the other one is the I don't know what you call it, but it's like it's a solid back hat,
A fitted
And
hat.
sure, that. And I generally just don't gravitate towards those. If it was a strap, if it had like Velcro or anything on the back, I probably would have made do with it because the front design was okay. But I like to wear my hats backwards a lot, and so I don't like the fitted look when I'm wearing it backwards. I just feel like a douche with a fitted hat backwards. And I think about it every time. I work with a couple guys who wear fitted hats exclusively backwards, and they wear it down to their eyebrows. I like, it's like such a tool, but they're really nice.
That's the recipe for a douche.
Yeah.
It's not the
So-
only requirement. However, it can be a safe assumption. They usually
Yeah.
go hand in hand.
Yeah. So I was very sad when I was at the first rally house and I saw this shirt and I was like, I struck gold. This was my goal today. I found a shirt I didn't even know I wanted, and I went to the hats and they had a hat I loved, but it was a junior size, and I'm not a junior sized head. I'm a large to XL head.
Yeah, I've been on the search, not as actively as you because I don't live conveniently near those types of shops.
Right.
But online, when they first released the merch, there was a hat or two that was dope as fuck, and then they sold out real quick, and I haven't been able to find them. So
I also went to Soccer Master because I got a tip that they might have some, and they have cool apparel. They have a jacket that I really want, but it's like $150. But the kid there said that they every once in a while do get hats, but what happens is that people will come in and buy them all up and sell them online.
bastards, people,
And that's
are
kind
doing
of-
this, man.
And that's kind of what's been going on. There was another shop at the mall that says something kind of similar. So it seems to be the trend. It's kind of frustrating because I want to rep the stuff, dude. But
There's
at least I
There's
got a
some
nice
pretty
shirt.
great t-shirts, long sleeve shirts on Fanatics right now. Check it out when we're done recording.
Yeah, have to
No
check it
hats. No hats. Speaking of hats, I was at the Blues game Monday.
out. Yes.
And I found the most amazing Blues hat I've seen. It was white It had like the darker blue bill with the yellow underside.
Mm.
It had a baby blue Blues emblem, and in yellow said St. Louis. It looked like real retro 80s. I was really liking it.
Nice.
It was a snapback, and then one snap was yellow and the other one was blue. So it looked really cool. But it was a flat bill hat, and that is the one thing that I can't do. Part of it's that I just don't feel like it looks good on my face, and then part of it is that I also feel like that's starting to push me towards douchiness. I think that's maybe more of an extreme take because there's a lot of great people that wear flat bill hats, but man, I can't do it. I've got to have the traditional baseball style curved bill of the hat, or it doesn't look right.
You should have bought it and then just put like a softball.
It doesn't work.
It will if you let it.
No,
yes.
no, because what happens with that style of hat? No, you're right. So the bill will bend, but what happens is the way that they've made these hats now is when you do that, you get like a little piece of fabric right here that kind of like wings out when you do it, and
you
it
are
looks
right
like
about the winging,
like this.
Yes. It's not as noticeable on that because it's dark blue. It would have been very noticeable on a white hat.
Yeah, this hat's designed to be a flat build, and I tried curling it. This hat is exclusively on backwards. I can't. No. I think Clayton's head just fine though, so I guess he has just more girth to his head than me.
Yeah,
probably in two different ways.
I've got a second one of those hats for you, Corbin.
You said that you're going to have a few for me, right?
Well, I've got another one of that hat that you're wearing for you.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I'm another one. It to you. Yeah. Instead of giving it to Clayton, I think you should have two.
I think you're right.
I think it makes the most sense.
Maybe when Matt is in town in February, we won't demand a lot of your time, but I'll just make a road trip to get the hat from you. And he can say hello and shake your hand, and then I'll grab the hats and we'll leave.
That's love right there. Hey, bro, can you give me some hats? All right, we're going to go back. See ya. Deuces.
I don't want to impose, but I'm sure he would love to feel your flesh, and I would love those hats.
Hey, yo.
Bang bong. I saw one of those today, and the dude was dressed like Spider-Man, talking like that at some convention. It was so funny.
That's fucking awesome.
Oh, man. Let me tell you this dope of the day type story.
Are we bringing that back?
Dope of the week.
Okay.
So kids have been sick with influenza.
Sure.
I'm still not sick, so you guys are going to owe me some money, even though neither one of you agreed to my bet.
We never talked about money.
There were no terms at all.
I said, I bet you $10 that I won't get sick, and then both of you said that I was going to die.
All I said is it's going to age poorly when we're laying you down to rest in a week.
But I am still going strong with no problems. Anyways, school was also canceled. My wife and the kids were home anyway, but school was called at noon because of the freezing rain. And so Abby's sister got off work early, and they all went up to grab some Taco Bell for lunch. Katie had a Taco Bell gift card that she wanted to use, and it wasn't quite enough to cover the whole order, so they handed the cashier the gift card and a $10 bill. Now, guess what they got back? The gift card.
Oh.
She processed the $10 bill first, and then processed the remainder on the gift card.
What a fucking
Who
idiot.
does that?
I don't know.
That's not how that's supposed to work in any circle.
So no. And it's like the worst type of situation because, this isn't quite going to cover it. So here's, I got a $10 bill, whatever. So now they've probably got like $1 something on this gift card. Like, it's so annoying.
Not enough for anything.
Right, yes.
They could have reversed the transaction. Why didn't they throw a stink?
I don't know. I asked why, and Abby said she wanted to, but they were just worried about getting home because the kids were in the car, so.
Oh, no, I would have. No. I would have said, nice try. Let's do that again.
Congratulations to that person.
That person's not a dope. That is some big wig from Taco Bell that has trained them to do this.
No, that was
because they know
undercover
they
my
know
favorite.
that gift card that they just saved $1.37. No, most people aren't going to use that gift card. Now I would, but there's a whole lot of people that say, screw it.
That might be because now that you say that, it reminded me of another annoying little thing that I noticed through McDonald's, because the boys got several like McDonald's cards, Sonic cards, like in stockings from like us and from Abby's parents, and me and Corbin's grandpa got them all a little gift card too. But anyways, we ended up with all these like little gift cards. If you go to try to pay for a transaction with a gift card, like on McDonald's app, let's say I order mobile, want to pick it up, you have to pay with the gift card and then load more money on that gift card. You cannot use multiple gift cards to like build up your balance.
Yep.
You can only pay with one gift card, and then you cannot pay the remaining balance with like your debit card. You have to load enough money to cover the entire transaction. So annoying.
Or just pay at the window and just be like, all right,
no, yeah,
here's
you definitely
6
can
gift
do that.
cards.
Yeah,
Enjoy.
there's one gift card at least though that we got fucked because I didn't know, so I just put it on there and then it was like,
Yep.
well, fuck
Sonic
off.
used to do that.
I think Sonic still does actually.
They don't anymore. If you have
Oh, really?
Apple Pay, you can pay just with Apple
okay.
Pay, which is a game changer because you have to put like $10 minimum on the Sonic app.
Yeah,
And when you only stop by once every few weeks and grab like a Coke, it's like, shit,
Right.
that's going to last forever.
yeah,
So
but yeah, super annoying.
crisp
So,
cherry Coke.
always gonna have, and you can't add like. Here's the other annoying thing: you can't add like the exact amount. You have to add in dollar whole. So I'm always
Yes.
gonna have like a handful of change, like now on my McDonald's app. Like, fuck you.
Yeah, I saw an interesting article talking about how when you think about it, Starbucks at this point is more of a bank than a coffee shop because of the amount of unused money they just have. Because when you buy a gift card for Starbucks or you're loading money onto the app, they immediately just have that money while you just take forever to spend it. And then with the amount of forgotten stuff as well. I was like, oh yeah, I guess they do just forever have that $50.
it's brilliant when you think about it.
Yeah. So actually thinking about that, if you go down to patreon.com/nerdosphere, you can get Nerdosphere credit where you can pay us in advance and we'll redistribute it back to you anywhere you go.
What?
Or better yet, go to patreon.com/thenerdosphere and just support your nerd brothers.
For
Boy,
$1.
just support your nerd
Support your nerd
brothers.
brothers.
We're just trying to make it out there in the world, trying to be
world
nerdy,
with
get
your
down and
little-
nerdy.
To pay
You can
for
su-
your
you
widow
can-
friends.
You can support
on your
us
little
for only
podcast.
$1 a month. That's just 4 quarters. Do you
Just
even
$4
notice that?
a month
Think
for your
Think of how many
friends.
4 quarters can make our lives
The
different.
widow
It just-
quarters.
It's just a little quarters. You don't even notice it,
For
but it
your
means the
friends.
world to us. Yeah.
With a $1 bill. Well, if you didn't know, this is the Nerdosphere. We're a podcast that discusses everything from the big screen to the small screen and anything in between, whether it be books, music, TV, movies, video games. If you can nerd out about it, we're gonna talk about it. If you like what we do and want to support the show, we would appreciate a rating. If you're on an Apple device, just scroll down to the bottom of the page, click that 5-star, leave a little something nice if you would like. If you're on Spotify, guess what? You can do this now too. Scroll on down, hit the 5-star button. We greatly appreciate it. We also appreciate you sharing the show. We know that if you like what we do, you probably know somebody else who does as well, and that's the best way to grow is with ratings and with referrals. So we appreciate you all. Tonight, we are going to be discussing something that we rarely discuss, even though we always talk about wanting to talk about it more, which is gaming and video games. This week, Microsoft made huge waves in the gaming sector by starting the purchase of Activision Blizzard for 68 billion, billion with a B, cash deal. They're buying Activision Blizzard for $95 per share, cash, and they are going to acquire everything that Activision and Blizzard owns, so it's set the gaming world ablaze with speculation and discussion about what that means for the Xbox PlayStation rivalry. So we're going to talk about some stuff tonight, go over some numbers. I made a ton of notes of stuff that I want to make sure we bring up as far as data goes and things like that. So yeah, we're just going to talk about games and stuff tonight.
And I think it's to be expected that what's-his-face is stepping down, especially amongst all the controversy. Right, the head of Activision is stepping down after the CEO's final.
Yeah, I would imagine. I know Phil Spencer in an email to the company basically said he's getting a promotion because he's going to be in charge of everything. So I suppose that means that they're going to clean house over there, which is typical when a big company buys another big company. Usually, you go through and like really just purge.
I mean, it definitely sounds like Blizzard needs to be purged based on the stuff that's been coming out. So
yeah, for those who aren't in the know, Corbin, why don't you talk about what's come out?
Just a lot of sexual misconduct and accusations and emails and proof. Like, it's more than just accusations. Like, it's very clear that this has been going on
for like years.
Yeah, it's been compared to like fraternity bro culture, like a frat culture over there, where women have not been taken seriously, and there's been sexual harassment and just stuff like that. And then I guess the head of Activision is in a scandal of his own amongst that and other things. So
yeah, and really that's what opened the door for Microsoft to be able to purchase this, because as I was reading up on it and doing some research, the stock is down. Activision stock was down 37% from these allegations, from an all-time high last year. Gaming industry, as a lot of people can imagine, through COVID, it was booming. Mm-hmm. There was not shit to do, and video game companies did very, very well. And this comes out, and people stop investing in Activision, which opens the door for Microsoft to swoop in. And it's not that $68 billion is chump change. That's a lot of money, but there is some growth potential there for sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So before we dive in, just kind of want to quickly go over what this purchase entails. So Activision Blizzard is most known for Call of Duty. That's their big thing. Blizzard does Overwatch. They also own the Tony Hawk franchise. They own Diablo. Surprise twist, they own Spyro and Crash Bandicoot. So I would bet money that we never see that on a PlayStation again. Some of the studios that are under the Activision Blizzard umbrella, Microsoft had 23 first-party studios under their belt going into this purchase. When this purchase is finalized, they will have 32 studios, first-party studios. For reference, Sony has 18. Some of the big ones that they're getting, Blizzard, obviously, which is World of Warcraft, Overwatch, Hearthstone, all that stuff. High Moon Studios will now be owned by them. They're now kind of known for doing support work. They helped do work on our Destiny 2. Actually, the best DLC out of the year that they helped work on was the Warmind DLC, and they made that DLC. Very good company. They did the Deadpool game, which is really popular when it came out. They did the War for Cybertron Transformers games, which are excellent games. Very talented studio. Infinity Ward, one of the Call of Duty studios, they were actually the ones who originally made Call of Duty. Raven Software, they did the original Wolfenstein. They did Marvel Ultimate Alliance. You remember that game, Corbin?
I do remember
that game. Was a lot of fun. Now they're in a support role as well, working on Call of Duty. Sledgehammer is one of the other tripod tentpole Call of Duty studios. I was doing some research on these guys. They were formed by two people from EA, and they started Sledgehammer and went to work for Activision, and they were originally making a third-person action game that was attempting to replicate the success of Dead Space. And then they got pulled off of that to help with Call of Duty, and they've been Call of Duty ever since. So I wonder what that game was going to be like. And then
Sure.
Treyarch, which is the other of the three that does, if you're not in the know, Treyarch, Sledgehammer, Infinity Ward rotate, and they put out a Call of Duty every year on a rotating schedule. Before Call of Duty, they did the original Spider-Man games, so Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, which without that, they laid the groundwork for how a Spider-Man game plays.
Yeah.
And then they did the Tony Hawk games, and now they're obviously on Call of Duty. So
But
that's all of
thankfully-
the big studios and big properties that will now be under the Microsoft umbrella.
Thankfully, though, the most talented people at Infinity Ward went off to be Respawn, which is now over at EA. I had to look it up because I wanted to see if Respawn actually got reacquired by Activision, but EA acquired them.
And that's something I sent to you guys as I usually read through this from like an investor's standpoint. And that's what Wall Street is betting on, is that Sony is going to make a counter move to try to stay even with Microsoft. And everybody's predicting that if Sony buys a company, it's most likely to be EA. Which I'm kind of torn on. I think I there's some good stuff from EA, but in general, I don't know if I love them or not.
Yeah, and to be honest, Microsoft has deep pockets. They are a huge company. So their market cap is $2.3 trillion compared to Sony's market cap of $156 billion. Like, it's completely different leagues. So for Sony to make a move like this, I just don't know that it's as realistic or as possible.
Especially like, I know I'm curious, maybe Clayton, you had looked this up on the profitability of EA these days, because like they have iconic franchises under their belt, but they're not a powerhouse. EA does not mean quality by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, EA now has become synonymous with like loot boxes and trying to squeeze money out of the consumer. So one, the studio would not do well in the Sony family. Like that, EA would have to if Sony bought EA, it would completely change, because they would not fit into the culture that Sony and PlayStation have created. And when you look at their other studios like BioWare and stuff, like they've not been producing quality for some time.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Like if they were to buy EA, I mean, sure, we would have like Jedi, the Lost Order or whatever, Fallen Order. But most of their games, they kind of feel like Wish versions of Activision games. Like Battlefield's okay, but it's not Call of Duty. I mean, I'm not a Call of Duty fan anymore, but it does. I mean, people fucking buy it. There's a reason why Activision makes it every fucking year. Yeah. And this is frustrating because it's been a slow migration, but more than 60% of the player base of Call of Duty is on PlayStation now, and the rest are scattered between Xbox and PC.
Yeah,
and
I actually have those numbers, Corbin. Let me look really quick. Percentage-wise. So for physical sales, Call of Duty player base, 41%, and this is for, what's the newest game? Vanguard. 41% are on PS5, 29% are on PS4, 19% on Xbox One, 11% on Series X for physical sales. It's really hard to find digital sales. Usually the tracking just goes by physical sales, and then you can look at like these sales charts without numbers to see how things are performing on each platform. But that's a massive player base. So I know Tim had Offcast had mentioned you didn't really know what Activision or Blizzard could bring to Xbox that would like challenge Sony. And I kind of agree that I don't think that they will take Call of Duty exclusive, We know from the past that they didn't, when they bought Mojang, they didn't take Minecraft exclusive, but that's because Minecraft is the biggest game in the world. So Minecraft has sold 238 million copies, and the next one down is Grand Theft Auto 5 with 155 million, and then number 3 is Tetris on mobile with 100 million. And those are the only 3 above 100 million. So it makes sense to, like, you buy Minecraft, I'm not going to take that exclusive because it is a massive moneymaker. Call of Duty is not quite that level, but I think because of the player base being so heavily in PlayStation, that it makes sense that they won't take that exclusive. But I would say everything else is fair game for going exclusive. When they bought Bethesda, they didn't wait or speculate. Everything is an exclusive.
Yeah, it was like the things that were contracted to Sony, like Deathloop, those things, sure, we have to honor those contracts. Everything moving forward, ours now, bitch.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, I think that a lot of people don't remember what it was like when Bethesda games come out, because like it takes so long for the next iteration to come out and there's patches throughout the years. But like when you remember Skyrim and even like the last like Fallout, I mean, they released so broken on PlayStation. Like Bethesda did not support our community for the longest time. Like Skyrim was a piece of junk for at least a year. And then the DLCs took like a year to get to us. So losing Bethesda, like, I'm kind of like, that kind of sucks that we can't play Elder Scrolls, but also like they have not proven themselves in a long time to put out quality, especially compared to The Witcher 3 that came out after Skyrim, made by a lesser studio with a lesser budget, and it was far more dense and a polished game as well to that. I don't know.
So looking at Activision Blizzard, they've got 5 games that have made over $1 billion. Call of Duty is by far its most profitable franchise at $4 billion. All that being said, it feels like that game is dying to me. I'm sure there's a ton of people playing it when you actually dive into the numbers, but the reviews for Vanguard are not good. And I mean, all I saw when I started looking up is everybody saying, I was a diehard Call of Duty fan. I didn't even buy Vanguard. That was me. I've been playing every Call of Duty since, for 10 years now. And I've just completely lost interest. So that's the first thing. But regardless of that, what a lot of investors are saying the carrot was Candy Crush. And that seems like a joke, but it's not. Candy Crush has made over $1 billion, and people think Candy Crush is going to be like one of the first hit games when the metaverse actually blows up. It's going to be what hooks the older generation into the metaverse that's maybe less likely to try it. So a lot of people have looked at it and said the profitable franchise that they just bought was Candy Crush long-term. But outside of that, World of Warcraft is $1 billion. Overwatch is $1 billion. And Skylanders, Spyro's Adventure.
Yeah.
Yep. It's $1 billion. But that's it. And when I sit down and actually start looking at that, how many of these are like very relevant in today's world? I mean, Call of Duty still relevant.
Candy Crush is super relevant. Overwatch is super relevant. They have the Overwatch League now, which is massively popular. I mean, they're making so much money, not on just game sales and, in-game purchases, but they have an entire professional league.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then from a market cap, I know you had mentioned like from a dollar standpoint, but the article that I read on CNN this morning said that according to Newzoo, which that doesn't seem like a very reputable source, but it's actually Reuters that this article is, which is a very reputable source. Microsoft's gaming market share went from 6.5% in 2020. And if the SEC approves this purchase, which it still has to go through and be approved, and there are some people that think there's a chance that it gets fought, and it's not going to be fought by Sony, is what investors think. They think it's going to be fought by Facebook because of the metaverse gaming implications. So they feel like Facebook will be the first one to file something saying, hey, no, you're creating a monopoly. This is not a fair exchange. But regardless of that, assuming it does go through, their market space only goes from 6.5% to 10.7%, which, I mean, it almost doubles. That's a sizable thing, but in the grand scheme of things, their market space is still only 10% of the gaming market. Which kind of blew my mind. I would have thought it would have been much bigger.
Yeah, and that's also just speculation, because here's where my head is at. They now have 9 new high-quality studios. They can do what gamers have been asking for years, which is let Call of Duty breathe for a minute. There doesn't need to be a new one every year. So you take 1 or 2 of your 3 Call of Duty studios and let them finally make something new or put them on something else, including these other, High Moon Studios, for instance. They are so talented. Everything they have done has been gold, and they've been in a support role for a long time. Well, maybe now they don't have to do a support role on Call of Duty. They can now make their own game. So there's a lot of new freedom here if they allow Call of Duty to breathe. If they embrace, okay, let's do every 2 years or every 3 years, and let's really support the game. We'll focus on game as a service, which is, games are lasting longer and longer with more support because they're making so much money in-game purchases. So let Call of Duty breathe, and then put some of these highbrow studios on something else and start delivering new IPs, expanding your market share.
Yeah, I mean, just to give an example of what that can be, I had mentioned Respawn earlier. They were the people who made Respawn were the figureheads at Infinity Ward, and they wanted to not make another Call of Duty and wanted to make something else instead. Activision said, no, this is all you're going to make. And they said, we make something else or we walk. And Activision said, bet. And they walked. Yeah. They walked away and made fucking Titanfall, which is a phenomenal game. The second game especially is so much fun. And if a team if a small team from one of those Call of Duty studios can walk away and make a game like that, think of the potential that these teams can do with proper funding and with proper leadership. I think you're completely right. I don't think there's any way that Phil Spencer and Microsoft is buying Activision and they're going to allow them to continue business as usual. I just don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
The flip side to that, just to play devil's argument, I do think that's what they do long term. But when you buy a $68 billion company and drain a huge portion of your assets to do that, the first response usually isn't, okay, let's take away our money makers to reinvent them. So I bet you we get a Call of Duty next year, and then they're probably going to say, okay, we're going to do another Call of Duty game just like normal. These studios are going to focus on trying to reinvent it. Now we have more bandwidth to do that, but I don't think they're going to say, let's take a $4 billion property, one of the most financially successful franchises, and pump the brakes after spending all this money. I think they're going to say, okay, let's try and get a little bit more of this capital back.
No, and I don't think they're going to pump the brakes. That's not what I'm saying. And there's probably already 2 Call of Duties, maybe even 3 in the pipeline. And I doubt that they pull that. So we're not going to see a major change for another couple years. Yeah. But you can still pull in money and not pump out a new game every year, because their money is not coming from copies sold. Their money is coming from in-game purchases. So you can still make your money if you're supporting the game for 2 years instead of 1. So I'm not saying that they're going to reinvent the wheel. I'm just saying I bet you they let a Call of Duty breathe and put these studios on something else.
So Corbin, you had said that, remind me what you said about your take on Sony potentially buying EA. Were you thinking that was not a move that a buy that would move the needle?
I don't think that is going to be something that Sony does. If you watch how Sony has been buying up studios lately, it has been very intentional. Some of them have been almost investment-like they see a studio make a game. They're like, oh, we could make something out of them. And not to get on a side tangent, but that's why Sony is fucking respectable. I do feel, I don't want to forget to make this statement that I cannot help but feel miffed that Microsoft had to do this, because they can't make games. All of their first party studios can't make shit. And so what do? They have to buy fucking Activision so that they have good exclusives. Because the console wars, going into PS5, I was kind of getting tired of the concept because it's like, just go where you want to play the game. It's like, it's fine. Like there's third-party games are everywhere. So just go where you want to play the exclusives. Just know that PlayStation's better. I still think that PlayStation has the games. But the Xbox stands have been really annoying me on Twitter about this. Like they feel like this sense of pride that like we're Activision now. And it's like they just had a bigger wallet. Like Clayton said, their money is just so different. But yeah, I don't. When you look at EA being purchased by Sony, even if they had the capital to do it where it made sense, it doesn't fit well in their family.
So here's some games.
It could fit. I mean, it could fit well.
It could.
EA's got some like huge games.
We got Apex Legends. What if you made that a PlayStation PC exclusive?
Isn't it already?
No, this is an EA game. Apex Legends you can play everywhere.
Is it on Xbox? Because when it launched, it was launched only on PlayStation.
Apex Legends, it's everywhere. You got Star Wars. We know that the exclusive deal with EA is done, but we have to assume that the studio behind Fallen Order will continue to make those. You could do that as a exclusive. Dead Space, the property Dead Space, would be under the PlayStation umbrella. Dragon Age would be under the PlayStation umbrella. Mass Effect. Obviously, the newest Mass Effect was not received as well, but it would still be it'd be a big property to have under your umbrella. I know, Corbin, you kind of just dogged on Battlefield a little bit, but it is massively popular, and PlayStation hasn't been able to produce a first-person shooter to rival Halo specifically as an exclusive. So maybe that's a move. I just don't think. And then of course you've got all the sports, which
to say you're missing the biggest money makers,
Madden,
which would be Madden,
NHL,
and NBA 2K Live.
That's not EA. That's Take-Two.
Isn't Take-Two under EA's umbrella though?
I don't think so, because Take-Two owns Rockstar and.
Okay.
But regardless, Madden's obviously massive. You already have the show, which that's not exclusive to PlayStation anymore, I don't think. But anyways,
in early 2008, EA tried to buy Take-Two for $2 billion, but it does not look like it was successful. So just maybe that's why
it looks like they their last basketball game was NBA Live in 19.
Yeah. So I'm not necessarily on board with the thought that it wouldn't be a good purchase, like the games wouldn't make sense, because there are some good games over at EA. I just really don't think that Sony's going to make that big of a move. They've never done anything that massive. Like Corbin said, they usually okay, this studio made this, I own the IP, but this I don't own the studio kind of thing. They made a game for me. This game turned out fantastic. I'm buying the studio because the talent is great and I want them under my umbrella. Like that's been Sony's philosophy, and it's worked out because their exclusives are top tier. All of their exclusives are always the most well-reviewed games, and always, even though they're exclusive, top in the charts for sales. So I just don't see them.
And if I have to hear one more person say, well, they don't have Halo. Halo is not the end all be all.
It is for some people. It is for some people. So
I've got a unique perspective here about the console wars in general, because I was a PlayStation guy through PS2, and then I switched to Xbox for Xbox 360 and Xbox One. And then last December, the three of us were fortunate enough to be able to each grab a PS5.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you that the infrastructure, how it navigates, how it works, the speed, the quality of the exclusives, PlayStation blows Microsoft out of the water at this juncture. It's night and day difference. Being able to sit down and play a game like The Last of Us or Miles Morales, I don't think Microsoft has that under their umbrella. Again, like you said, people will point to Halo. I can't compare those two types of game. Halo is a fun first-person shooter, but to me, it's nothing more than a first-person shooter. It's not an emotional experience like you can get through a lot of the Sony exclusives that we have right now. So it feels like, especially when you're on Twitter, it feels like there's a lot of people that are doom and gloom on PlayStation. PlayStation still has sold more consoles than Xbox for this iteration. I think Corbin, you sent that number out today, didn't you?
Yeah, it's like,
It was
1.6. It's like 1.6 bunch of numbers to every Xbox, and it's trending upwards. So we're getting closer to, for every Xbox, 2 PS5s are being sold.
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely not doom and gloom if you're a PlayStation fan, right? There's reason to still be optimistic and hopeful, but I will say that Microsoft's vision of their Game Pass being like a Netflix-like experience where I can have hundreds of games at my disposal and it's constantly being updated, and they're going to throw in some new releases in there too. That is where Sony is really going to have to figure this out, because this generation, they're going to look at the streaming capabilities and being able to have unlimited flexibility and choice for, $10 to $15 a month. That's really hard to beat.
It is.
And I don't know what the profitability is though. Like I still don't understand how Game Pass makes money.
It's obviously profitable because they're doing it and they're putting more and more time and effort into it. I mean, you could say that same thing for like Disney Plus. They're spending $150 to $200 million per Disney Plus show. And, they're still making money at $8 a month or however much it is. But the biggest threat, I guess, that Microsoft brings to Sony with this is the Game Pass. Yep. Regardless of whether things go exclusive or not, Call of Duty is going to be day one on the Game Pass from here on out. And that is a huge selling point. I no longer have to go out and buy a game. I just pay my monthly subscription to play online, which I have to do anyway, and I get access to Call of Duty, brand new game, day one. No more clicks, no more buttons. I don't have to worry about it. Just pay my monthly fee to pay online, and I get all of these awesome games day one.
Yeah, and to go back to Corbin's point, in my brain, what they would do is they would still make up any difference in
in-game purchases.
People that are doing in-game purchases, because how many people are gonna be like, I would never play this game. I would not spend $70 to buy this game, but it's on Game Pass and I'm bored, so I'll just try it. And all of a sudden I love it, and in-game purchases will happen. Yeah. I have to imagine DLCs, in-game purchases is where they can really bridge that gap, because it gives people the option to try something out and not have it feel like it's costing them a huge amount of money to buy something that they maybe don't like. And it makes even more sense in light of like some of the huge commercial failures in video games that we've seen recently, where people spent a ton of money buying or pre-ordering a game like Cyberpunk, and it comes out and it's broken. And all these people are like, I'm never going to pre-order a game again. That kind of
you should never pre-order a game.
Agreed.
Pre-ordering a game is giving that developer money on an undelivered promise.
Yep.
Never
Agreed.
Pre-order a game.
But regardless, you don't pre-order it. There's a lot of people who'd go out and buy a game like that on day one, and ultimately it's still a trash game, and you just have no way of testing it out or trying it. Whereas Sony can do that. And what really makes sense to me as well, like I'm just spitballing here, I could see Sony saying, hey, these games that just dropped, you can't play it forever on Game Pass. It's a brand new movie or a brand new game, but we'll let you play it for 5 days. And if you like it, then you can buy it. And then it'll be on Game Pass next year or in 7 months. I bet you that is something that they tinker with too, because getting that extended look makes a big difference to some people.
It does, but it really looks like the push and the next step in that is just going to be it's on the Game Pass day one. It's not going to be like a demo. It's just going to be there.
It's there.
I guess the struggle I have wrapping my head around the profit and stuff, which, like you said, Microsoft's doing it, so they have to make money somewhere, is just before Sean Layden left PlayStation, which was the golden years, RIP, because Jim Ryan's a douchebag. He was saying that, games have been sold at a loss for so long that's incredibly unsustainable. Like even us paying $70 for games now is not enough to recoup what they actually should be selling for. And especially when you talk about inflation and stuff, like it's crazy to think that we've been paying $60 for as long as we have. We were paying,
especially when you look at prices of like the original Nintendo games, and they were like
Yeah.
50, 60, $70 in the 80s.
back then. Yeah. So like the concept of like games being too expensive is moronic, and it definitely reeks of people not being able to actually see the bigger picture, and they've just been privileged of just having $60 for their entire lives. We should be paying probably at least $80, $90 for games. But my point is
Probably more than
is
that.
games are only getting more expensive to make, and they were being sold terribly at a loss before. And again, Sean Layden said that was unsustainable. So the idea of us all of a sudden going to a subscription service, I feel like that's going to take a massive amount of money rearranging.
Well, again, though, it's games are lasting longer because they're being supported more and, longer, and they're focusing on in-game purchases. So, like, that's where the profit is. You get the copy into the console, into the audience, into the audience's hand, and then you sell them a service. Like you've been playing Destiny now for 6 years, spending $30 a year on the DLC, buying cosmetics, doing all this other stuff. You know what I mean? Like that's where gaming is going. Everything's lasting longer, and that's the focus. That's where the profit's made.
Like, is the new Halo game on Game Pass?
Yeah, pretty sure.
The new one?
I'm pretty sure.
Because it's one thing when you're striking a deal with like a third party to have them on Game Pass. It's another thing when you're doing your first party and it's like all the money is just coming from the subscription.
You could play, even if it wasn't, I'm pretty sure it's on Game Pass, but you could also play multiplayer for free. You didn't even have to buy the game to play Halo multiplayer.
Do you guys know how much Game Pass is? Is it $10 a month?
I think it's $10 a month, but I don't know for sure.
So I just doing some basic math. If it's $10 a month, let's just say it is for simplicity. I just looked it up. There are 25 million people who pay for Game Pass currently for Sony. So when you expand that out to the course of a year, that's $3 billion that they're making on Game Pass.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money
a month, and then there's an ultimate version for $24.99.
Yeah, so I mean, my $3 billion is actually like at least 50% short. So there's a lot of money being made by Sony through Game Pass, and when you look at the cost of making an Elite game, which Elite games don't come out very often, but when I just scrolled through the list, it seemed like top tier Elite games are between 1 and 200 million, which I know is a huge spread, but like Red Dead Redemption 2, $170 million. I think that's a pretty good gold standard right there. You could make quite a few really good games. If you're making, $4 or $5 billion a year on Game Pass, you can afford to really invest that and make some quality.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Especially if you've got money-making models inside the game. Yeah. So real quick, since we kind of had touched on PlayStation potentially buying EA, I made a list of just some of the bigger studios or publishing houses that are still not owned by either Sony or Microsoft. So we've got Take-Two. They own Rockstar. They do all the 2K games, and then of course you've got Rockstar with Red Dead and Grand Theft Auto and all that. You've got Ubisoft. They do all the Assassin's Creed games and a bunch of the Rabbids and all that stuff. You got Riot Games. They're the ones who do League of Legends, and they're expanding now into more things like Valorant and then the Arcane television show. You got Sega, you got Capcom, you got Square Enix, and of course you've got Nintendo. So those are some of the other big guys still out there. So if Sony doesn't go after EA, maybe they look at going after something else. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of people said EA or Ubisoft is what
would be a a decent move.
Yeah, what the favorites are. Going back to like, how can you be profitable on Game Pass? If they just wanted to break even on Game Pass, based on $15 a month at 25 million subscribers, which that number is going to go up as their offerings go up. But let's just keep it simple: $15 a month, 25 million. If you made $170 million game, so that is a Red Dead Redemption 2-esque game, you could afford to make 26 of them a year. That's a ton. Yeah. And break even. That's a ton. You know, how many elite level games do you think we get in a year?
Not
5
26.
or 10?
Yeah, not 26.
You know, like cost wise, 5 or 10 is what I would guess. And then, you know, quality wise, it's not 10. But I mean, that's a ton of money. So I think that maybe, I know that's illuminating for me to say, oh, damn, like they could really make some quality games if they do what's smart and they don't just say quantity over quality. Yeah. I think that is the key. And Microsoft, to me, has yet to prove that they can make a quality game at the same level as what PlayStation can do with an exclusive consistently.
I agree, but I will also say that they are making moves, and this is one of them, to try to reach that level.
Yeah. So. And it gets even more, their odds of doing that get even higher when you realize, like, okay, like Activision Blizzard, maybe they have that as a completely separate department, but they've just hired a huge pool of talent that they can commingle with all these other studios that they have. And that's where the collaborations and the quality can really come from, is by, you know, getting 30 studios together and saying, okay, let's take our best people to work on these projects.
Yeah. And when you now have almost double the first party studios of your competitor, like the chances of you creating something that can rival what they're producing drastically increases, especially with the talent, like we talked earlier, that they're nabbing with some of these studios.
Yeah. I did see a really funny meme. I think I texted you guys, and it was like an IM message between PlayStation and Bungie, and PlayStation messages and says, "Hey buddy, I just wanted to see how you're doing, check in and say I love you." And then it was another word bubble saying, "Are you awake?"
Yeah. Bungie's actually another really good mention, because they're starting to expand. They're hiring a few other teams. They're going to be releasing another new IP, and they're not going to be solely focused on Destiny going forward. They have at least one IP. I think they're trying to do a couple. So they're growing, and that also wouldn't be a bad get. If Sony really wanted to go after somebody, Bungie would be a nice studio to own.
That's true, because every live service game is just trying to chase Destiny. Division, all that shit, they're just trying to chase what Destiny's been able to do.
There's yet to be a Destiny killer, and Destiny is the only game like that is still around and making money. Division's not a thing anymore. I can't even think of the others because
they don't last.
They don't last. Oh,
I need you guys...
Anthem was just a... it crashed and burned from the get, but
yeah.
I need you guys to walk through this thought that I have that's unpolished, and this could be the dumbest thing that I've ever said on the podcast, but entertain me for a second. What would Xbox's reason be for making all of these games, or a huge portion of these games, exclusive? Because I would have to imagine the fact that they own the studios that create them, they're still going to make the vast majority, if not all, the money on the purchase of those games on other platforms.
For the same reason they put the exclusive switch on Bethesda. Now, Microsoft exclusive still goes to PC. They're just trying to cut off really their only competition.
But walk me through the why, or the how it works, because I'm under the thought that consoles are still largely sold at a loss. I know this is something we talked about.
They are.
About a year ago. Consoles, you do not make money selling the console.
You do not.
Correct.
Okay. So if you can't make money selling the console, why would you not be open to PlayStation playing a game from a company that you own?
Because
There's obviously the Game Pass stuff, but they could say
migrate, Tim.
Yeah.
But what's the problem with the migration if the bulk of the money still goes to the studio that you own for the purchase of that game? You know what I mean? Like,
so
I don't know what percent PlayStation makes. Maybe it's a huge percent, but like, let's Call of Duty. Say Call of Duty. I buy it on PlayStation. What percent does PlayStation make on the sale of that Call of Duty game? I don't know if it's a huge percent or if it's like a very teeny tiny percent or maybe close to nothing at all. That's what I don't know, because unless that spread is huge, it's man.
I wish I had. We used to. I don't know if Corbin still does, but we used to listen to Sacred Symbols, which is Colin Moriarty.
Big PlayStation guy.
They made a game that they released on PlayStation, and he actually went into detail about what the percentage was. And it's not massive, but it is a pretty significant amount, especially for a small indie creator, like how his partnership was with the studio that made his game. But so there is a little bit of that, but the main thing is driving the brand. And Microsoft's ultimate goal, if Microsoft's ultimate goal was to just sell games and make money on games, then they would stop putting out the Xbox. They want an audience on Xbox. They want to grow their market share, and they want to be where people go to play games. So you drive that with exclusives, because otherwise there's really no difference, especially now. There's no difference except for your exclusives and what you can offer. So that's the main drive behind it.
Sony gets 30%. It may vary depending upon the game and company. For example, a AAA title from EA or Ubisoft, which is expected to sell millions, might have a lower fee, but generally the cut of selling a game on PSN or Steam or Microsoft Store is 30%.
Okay, so that's a pretty big chunk.
It's a pretty big chunk, yeah. I wanted to say 30, but I felt like that was high. So
for some reason in my brain, I was thinking it's more like a movie theater, right? Where it's like, you don't make a ton of money on the actual ticket sale of the movies. So that's good to know. I mean, that makes a lot more sense than when you think about how much money is spent in games. And I don't even know that number. I'm going to see if I can find that while you guys are talking.
Yeah, but just the sheer fact that PlayStation, through PlayStation 4 and now through PlayStation 5, is selling, on average, basically 2 to 1. You have to drive new customers to your ecosystem. And how do you do that? You do that by offering things that the other people don't have. You offer your exclusives. So
that is entirely true. I was trying to look up.
While we're sitting here, I did want to bring up a response to something Tim sent us offcast. He had mentioned that Sony would be okay if PlayStation made $0. What was your whole statement there, if you don't mind refreshing me?
Yeah, when you look at Sony's infrastructure, only 30% of their division of their net profit comes from actual PlayStation.
Yeah.
So like just you guys, this conversation started as talking about Sony stock in general. There was what I feel was mostly a clickbait article saying, oh, Sony stock takes a shit after Microsoft buys it. They lose $20 billion, which is this huge number, but you have to factor in a couple of things. You have to factor in that like the stock market as a whole has taken a shit, especially the tech end of stocks. Then you also need to factor in the fact that Microsoft stock did not do anything at all with this news. Microsoft's been stagnant or down since this news has come out. So I felt like it was a very pointed article to say like, Sony stock's in trouble, like Microsoft's coming for them. And I'm like, well, what percent of the dip was from this announcement? Because every tech stock was down more than 10% over the past week or so, so like it definitely impacted the value. But I don't think it's a crippling impact. And I definitely don't think the price of the stock right now is largely driven based on this bad news for Sony. I think there's market factors and this news combined led to a dip but in the grand scheme of things, the stock went down like $12.
Right.
Like they just made it sound like it was this catastrophic drop. It's like, dude, stocks go down $5, $10 all the time. Like that's just how the stock market works. So my whole point was like that clickbait article is like, Sony doesn't even need PlayStation to still be a good investment necessarily.
Gotcha. So just a couple thoughts on that. When we're comparing the two companies and just comparing the gaming division, obviously either company is going to be okay without Xbox or without PlayStation. But as you said, PlayStation and the gaming aspect of Sony makes up nearly 30% of the revenue and nearly 30% of its profit as well. So not only is it bringing in revenue, but it's bringing in profit. And Corbin and I have talked about this in the past, that famously Sony, due to its poor movie investments several years ago, was actually kept alive by the PlayStation division. Like if they didn't have PlayStation, there was talks of Sony selling their entire entertainment division because it was doing so poorly. And the only reason they were able to not have to do that was because of PlayStation. To compare, Microsoft so this is third quarter 21, their gaming division only brought in $5 billion, and it only made up I didn't write down the percentage, but it's a much smaller percentage of the overall company. So I guess my thought to your thought was, yes, Sony would be okay without PlayStation, but their gaming division means way more to them than Microsoft. And I think that
Absolutely.
is part of why Microsoft is making these aggressive moves, because now they do care about their gaming division and they want to expand and they have the pockets to do so. So while they're not necessarily in a dire situation yet, this is the first move that could create a dire situation for PlayStation.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're talking in this moment, PlayStation is getting close to selling 2-1 on Xbox. If this had happened before this console generation happened, that might not be the case. And so it definitely is a play for whatever the next generation of console might be. It'll be very interesting to see the ripple effect of all of this.
That is an interesting point. If this had been done a year ago when Series X and PS5 came out, how would that have affected console sales?
Would you have purchased an Xbox?
Absolutely not.
No. I truly stand firm that when it comes to my time being dedicated to video games, I would say 75% of what I play are first or second party titles. And for those who are listening, there's first party, second party, third party. First party studios are the ones that are owned in-house. So for PlayStation, it's like Naughty Dog or Santa Monica. Now Insomniac. With Microsoft, the first party is the fucking people who made Halo.
343.
Thank you. I knew there was a bunch of numbers. I almost said 314, but that is St. Louis area code. A second party studio are studios that are independent but work under contract. So before Insomniac was bought by PlayStation, Insomniac was a second party studio. They made Psychonauts, they made Sunset Overdrive for Microsoft. They are just studios that are specifically contracted for a game for a console exclusive. And then third parties are just independent all the time, which is like Activision, EA, the things we talked about in that nature, where their games just go everywhere they can, and that's the end of the story. So
the big difference is who owns the IP. So a first party studio is owned by, PlayStation, and they also own the IP. A second party studio is an independent studio, but the IP they're working on is owned by Sony or Microsoft. And then third party, like Rockstar, they're not only an independent publisher, but they also own their IP.
Right. Like right now, From Software is a second party studio where they've made, like Sekiro for PlayStation. Or was it Neo? It was Neo. And typically PlayStation, Clayton spoke to this earlier a little bit, but typically PlayStation's move to buy studios is just buying up second party studios that worked out well. And actually there's been a lot of people who've been shocked that PlayStation has not bought from software yet, because that partnership has proved very lucrative and has
they
worked
got
out really well.
Bloodborne, which is
Yeah,
universally
Bloodborne,
loved, and
the
Neo.
Demon Slayer or the Demon Soul remake is a PlayStation exclusive.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised if that doesn't come. So
yeah, but just to more speak to that, so Tim and others listening, like that's always been PlayStation's MO, is not necessarily buying up this conglomerate of IPs. It's just we work well together and we can do something special. So let's invest in this. So
so we'll see. I don't know. I am kind of a mind that I hope the SEC stops this purchase, because I'm getting super tired of massive corporations buying out other massive corporations, and everything is getting smaller. I'm firmly of the belief that more competition is best, and the more we condense down all of these studios and properties, just talking about gaming in particular, the more it's going to hurt our overall experience. Like, it's everybody's saying the right things right now, but if Microsoft ends up buying more of these studios, guess what? The less they have to compete, the more they're going to do whatever they want, and the more they're going to fuck over the customer. Right now, they're in a position where they have to make the customer happy. That's not always going to be the case, and that will be accelerated if they buy up all the competition. So I just really feel like if this isn't blocked, it's going to set the precedence for just too much condensing in the future.
And you guys are right. Like, Sony doesn't have the pockets to really fight this.
They don't.
But do you know which company does? Facebook. And again,
fuck Facebook. Yeah.
Wall Street is saying that Facebook is going to be the one that's predicted to make the stink, because they are very vested in gaming for the metaverse, and this could have huge implications for Facebook's gaming platform plans.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe fuck Facebook, but the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And like Facebook, if they want to take Microsoft to war and say, nope, you're creating a monopoly, we ourselves have been stopped from doing these things, there's no chance we're going to lose leverage on metaverse gaming right now without fighting it, then great, let them pony up and fight it. And like you said, to me, this is not about the console wars, which I think you just kind of iterated. This is about, like, I want a quality gaming experience, and I want everybody to have the option to have that regardless of which platform you're on. If Microsoft wants to take a couple titles and make them exclusives, then, it is what it is. But if they're going to say, hey, guess what? Like 70% of the content coming out can only be bought on Xbox.
Exactly.
That's going to really suck for gaming.
Yeah. And that's what worries me, is that this is the first step to that. Because they have the funding to do it. If Microsoft has decided we're going all in on gaming, they have the money to do that.
They could do it. And, it starts with the exclusives. And then the next thing they do is they turn off cross-platform play. And you could be looking at PlayStation and saying, well, we don't have any games. And the games that we do have, we can only play them with people on PlayStations, and it's a dying brand. And that would really drive people away, I think, if you're into online gaming and cross-platform play goes away as well. Like, that just kills a game. We see it with one of our most beloved titles right now, with Red Dead Redemption, and you get on and there's like 3,000 people playing in the world in a given day. And you look at other games and it's like 20 times that. Yeah. So losing online play can kill a studio, can kill Sony really quick, I think.
Yeah. And of course, the biggest threat is just quality will go down, prices will go up. And gaming as we know it will fundamentally change. Like, just imagine if, and this is obviously worst case scenario years down the road, but Microsoft buys all of these studios, keeps purchasing until they have a true monopoly on the bulk of the market, and then it turns into what's like on mobile devices, like just shit money grabs everywhere.
Ad after ad, and
and that's not what we want. So,
no.
All right. Well, unless we have anything else, I'm going to take us out. Anything else?
Just that when I'm done working on my PlayStation tattoo, hopefully in 20 years, it's not a relic of the past, like a Blockbuster tattoo.
People really regretting those Blockbuster tattoos. All right, folks. Well, thanks for stopping by for this episode of The Nerdosphere. We love talking games, and we rarely get the chance to talk about them. Maybe 2022 will be different with this episode to start paving the way to those conversations. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Remember, if you like what we do, scroll on down and give us a rating. You can do this on Apple, on Spotify, or your podcast platform of choice. If you really like what we do, go over to patreon.com/thenerdsphere, where you can learn how to support the show for as little as $1 a month and gain exclusive perks. Remember, if you like what we do, you probably know somebody that would also like what we do, and we would appreciate if you would share us with those you love, because making content better is sharing and caring. Until next time, we will see ya. Bye.
Toodaloo. See ya.